Why do you think, given how many political parties we already have, we in fact need a new party?
Yes, but you see, Caesar, the parties we have in South Africa, which are clones of the ANC, are the same social group, which is the African middle class. That's who our political parties are. The ANC, at the end of the day, has always been the party, going back to the 19th century, has always been a party of the African middle class. It formed alliances with various other, with the working class, with traditional leaders, with the Indians, with Jews, with communists, and so on. It formed alliances to fight apartheid. But it remained the party of the African middle class. And once it got into power, it dumped most of these allies that it had and advanced the interests of the African middle class. So the many parties that we have in South Africa, there are over 300 or 600. I can't remember. I was listening to the IEC saying they are going to cancel some of them. There's huge number, but they're all clones of the ANC. They're middle class parties. So which class then in South Africa does not have its own party? The working class doesn't have its own party. Okay. I think AfriForum is trying to be a party of the Afrikaans working class. But the African working class don't have their own party. The capitalists in South Africa, black or white, they don't have their own party. As I say, the ANC is a middle class party. The white capitalists don't have, the DA is not a capitalist party. It's a middle class, English speaking white middle class party. It's not a capitalist party. The poor don't have a party of their own. So when you look at our political landscape, the only social group that has a political voice and a political party is the African middle class at the end of the day. Okay, people like Gayton Mackenzie are trying to replicate this African middle class party with a colored middle class party. But it won't make much of a difference because the African population is 80% of the population. So when it comes to political numbers in a democracy, numbers are everything. So at the end of the day, you need then a new party that represents the other groups that have no parties of their own. The capitalists are one of those. The workers are one of the South African Communist Party is a faction of the ANC. It's not it calls itself a party of the workers. It is not a party of the workers. It's a faction of the nationalists in the ANC. And it's a middle class faction of the part of the ANC. So the workers don't have their own party. And then the poor, we have huge part of our population, 60% if I remember, are classified as poor. They don't have their own party. So that's the context in which I said that.
I take it then you don't think either the EFF or MK represent working class?
No, these are the chips of the old block of the ANC. They don't represent. Look at what's happening to the EFF. It's going nowhere. The poor, the unemployed are becoming more and more. The poor are getting poorer and poorer. Where is the EFF? It's stuck at 9%. So they don't see, the poor themselves don't see the EFF. Ironically, if you look at who supports the EFF, it's a huge part of them are university students. Now, those are not working class. A huge part of them are young professionals, are young African male professionals. They are not middle class. They are the new part of the new middle class in South Africa. So no, those parties don't represent the poor and they don't represent the working class.
Sam, before we get back to the episode, we just want to let you know we have a big goal on this channel to build this community to 1,000 members. That means we have 2 new levels of SMWX membership. The first level gives you exclusive access to content, discounts on merch, but the second level, in addition to various other perks, gives you access to me. We're going to have meetups, online sessions. You're going to get discount on our live events. So if you want to deepen your SMWX community experience, help us get to that 1,000 member level. Look forward to seeing you there. So you're calling for a new party, or do you actually want to see both a party that actually firmly says, I represent the capitalist interests, and a workers' party as well?
No. If the workers want a party of their own, they can form a party. If the capitalists want a party of their own, but if we're trying to address the issue, which to me I think is the primary challenge of South Africa, which is economic growth, then you need the capitalists to be in the political decision-making equation. Whether they are there on their own, or they are there with the workers, or they are there with the poor, they have to be central to that, because they are the only ones who know how to grow the economy. And for us to address the stagnation, the poverty, the unemployment, we need the capitalists to feel that their interests are protected, their ownership, their assets are secure. Let me give you an example, which is what happens when you have middle-class parties like we have in South Africa. Many years ago, the South Koreans decided that there is a certain size of ship that was not being built, which they called a small tanker. But actually it's a 30,000 ton ship, which is very big. They said nobody's building these tankers. So they decided that they want to come and build this ship in South Africa. So I was asked by the ambassador to work with them and to help them look at how they go about this. So I went to Transnet, to their Portnet division, and I said, this is what these folks want to do. Can you help them? So we set up a working group with the Koreans. The company was called Daewoo Shipbuilding and Engineering Company.
Right.
So we worked together with Transnet. We looked at where they would place a shipyard. Shipyard is a massive installment, as you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they kept asking me, what about our property rights? Are property rights safe in South Africa? So I said, you don't have to worry, our constitution. So I read them the parts of the constitution. So one day I get called by our Korean partner to say, the main shareholder, the president, wants to see you in Seoul. So I said, sure, I'll pay for myself. I'll go and see the president. And the president of Daewoo Shipbuilding was a Korean development bank.
I see.
So I flew off and went to see the guy. And he took me out for lunch, just him and me, and wanted assurances about the security of property rights in South Africa. And I gave him all assurances. Then I come back and we identified Richards Bay as being where this shipyard was going to be built.
Yeah.
Then, unrelated to what we're doing, the ANC kicks out its president, which was President Mbeki.
Ah, right. Okay. So this is...
So now the Koreans come to me now I got interviewed. Okay, this is what happened. I got interviewed by the Star as to what do I think about President Mbeki being kicked out. So I said, this is unconstitutional. And I spelled why it was unconstitutional.
Sure.
So the following day I get a call from the Koreans. They said, your constitution can't protect your president, how is it going to protect our shipyard? We're out of here. And that was the end of the project.